What am I looking at here? This is the Heisman odds. Well, some of this makes sense and some of it doesn't. Not sure how they came up with some of these numbers, but let's go. Hey everybody, what's going on? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude. Hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, especially if you're a college football fan. I do college football videos every single day. So I've been looking at the Heisman odds, and a lot of it makes sense, but some of it just flat out baffles me. So I wanted to run through it, give you my opinion, and then maybe get your opinion on it. The top 10 basically makes sense. The odds-on favorite to win the Heisman is Spencer Rattler, the quarterback out of Oklahoma. He's at plus 300, meaning his odds are 3-1. Behind him, you have DJ Uiagalelei, quarterback for Clemson, Jayden Daniels, quarterback for Georgia, Sam Howell, quarterback for North Carolina, Bryce Young, quarterback for Alabama, Kedon Slovis, quarterback for USC, Garrett King, quarterback for Miami, Matt Corral, quarterback for Ole Miss, Jayden Daniels, quarterback for Arizona State, then finally a player that's not a quarterback, Isaiah Spiller, the running back out of Texas A&M. That seems okay, I guess. Really, the only player I have a problem with being in the top 10 right there is Kedon Slovis. He's just too inconsistent. So the first category that I wanted to run through are names that actually need to be switched. They're in the wrong spot. First up, Isaiah Spiller, the running back out of Texas A&M. He's at plus 2,500. That's a 25-1 odds, which does barely put him in the top 10. I think he should actually be higher. 188 carries for 1,036 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 5.5 yards a carry. And I think he's going to have a great year at Texas A&M this year. Now, right behind Isaiah Spiller, Master Teague, the running back out of Ohio State. Last year, 104 carries for 514 yards, 8 touchdowns, and averaged just 4.9 yards a carry. He actually lost his job to Trey Sermon, a transfer from Oklahoma. How is he just one spot under Isaiah Spiller? That doesn't make any sense to me. Then the name that I was talking about earlier, Kedon Slovis. He's at plus 1,000. That's a 10-1 odds. Well, last year he was 177 for 264, 67%, 1,921 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Those are not horrific numbers. I don't have a problem with him being on the list. It's where he's at. I would not have Kedon Slovis in the top 10. Sam Howell, the quarterback for North Carolina. Last year, 237 for 348. That's 68.1%, 3,586 yards, 30 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. So his touchdown to interception ratio much higher than Kedon Slovis, and yet he's barely above him. I think Sam Howell does belong in the top 5, but Kedon Slovis does not belong in the top 10. Let's keep going. In the top 15, these two haven't even won the quarterback battle at Ohio State. Jack Miller III and C.J. Stroud, both in the top 15, both at plus 4,000, both 40-1 odds. They haven't even won the quarterback competition at Ohio State, and they're both in the top 15. What kind of logic are you using, Vegas? Here's a name that does make sense. Jayden Daniels. Last year, 49 for 84, 58.3%. That percentage does need to get higher, but he threw for 701 yards, 5 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. And we saw last year, he just kept getting better and better and better. Oh yeah, dual threat quarterback. 33 carries for 223 yards, 6.8 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. That's better than a lot of good running backs. So yes, I agree, Jayden Daniels deserves to be in the top 10. Next category, head scratchers. First up, Breece Hall, the running back out of Iowa State, not even in the top 20 in the Heisman race. Last year, 279 carries, 1,572 yards, 21 touchdowns, 5.6 yards a carry. He's at plus 6,600, which is 66-1 odds. I would actually lay some money on that. I think he has a legitimate shot to make some noise this year. That's not a bad bet at all. Next up is Desmond Ritter, the quarterback out of Cincinnati. He's in the 35th ranking range. Last year, 186 for 281, 66.2%, 2,296 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. I do agree that those interceptions need to come down just a little bit, but Cincinnati looks to have a monster year this year, and they have 2 chances to have big-time statement wins against Notre Dame and Indiana. He's at plus 10,000. That's 100-1. He needs to be way higher than that. I wouldn't put him as a favorite to win the Heisman, but much higher than where he's at. This goes in direct correlation, almost 20 spots above Desmond Ritter, the quarterback for Florida. Emery Jones. What has he done to to earn a top 15 ranking in the Heisman race. I'll even go back 2 years, since he didn't get much playing time behind Kyle Trask. In 2019, 25 for 38, 65.8%, 267 yards, 3 touchdowns. Nothing mind-blowing about that. The percentage, not bad. Dual threat quarterback, 42 carries for 256 yards and 4 touchdowns. In 2020, behind Kyle Trask, he got worse. 18 for 32, 56.3%. That's not good. 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. That's a bad touchdown to interception ratio as well. Rushing the ball, 32 carries for 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's at plus 4,000, which is 40-1 odds. That is mind-boggling. That's a head scratcher. That one absolutely makes no sense to me. Another guy that's still on this list that should not be on this list at all, George Pickens. They don't even know if he's going to play in the 2021 season. What is he doing on this list? He is listed at plus 6,600, 66-1 odds. No, he has 0% odds, even if he comes back in the middle of the season. Not enough games to win the Heisman. It's not going to happen. The last thing for my head scratcher list, and it's a West Virginia player, to be honest with you. They have Jayden Daniels on here. I mean, he's not very high at all, but to be on this list, last year, 239 for 374, 63.9%, 2,587 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I mean, those are not bad numbers, but he should not be on a Heisman list. And where's Letty Brown, our running back? If you're going to put Jayden Daniels on here, you have to put Letty Brown on there. That one makes no sense, guys. The next category is the Diamonds. They're not favorites to win the Heisman, but they're not far enough down to totally discount them. First one on this list is the quarterback out of Louisville, Malik Cunningham. Last year, he was 195 for 304, 64.1%, 2,617 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Dual threat quarterback, 131 carries for 609 yards, 4.6 yards a carry, and 7 touchdowns. And he had a down year last year. He definitely has to cut back on those interceptions. But I expect him to have a big bounce back year this year. He was trending in the right direction than last year happened, but his star potential is way up there. It wouldn't be a terrible bet to put money on Malik Cunningham. Next diamond, wide receiver out of Alabama, John Metchi. Last year, he wasn't even one of the main receivers at Alabama, and he still had pretty good numbers in a shortened season. 55 receptions for 916 yards and 6 touchdowns. And he'll have Bryce Young as his quarterback. It wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to lay money on John Metchi. Last diamond I'm going to talk about is Graham Mertz, the quarterback out of Wisconsin. Last year, he was 118 for 193, 61.1%, 1,238 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. If he can avoid letdown games, this guy can be something special. And I think this is the year that Wisconsin could take advantage of a down year from Ohio State and win the Big Ten. And that would help his Heisman stock tremendously. So all 3 of those players, they're at plus 5,000, which is 50-1 odds. So the odds on that would not be horrific, and the payoff would be pretty darn good. Last category, the Longshots. These are pretty good players, but they're way low on the Heisman list. And I think you should keep your eyes on them. First one up, the quarterback out of LSU, Miles Brennan. He's at plus 6,600. That's 66-1. Last year, 79 for 131, 60.3%, 1,112 yards, 11 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. And that offense returns a lot of players for LSU. Could he pull a Joe Burrow? I think it's definitely possible. Next up, the quarterback for Penn State, Sean Clifford. Yeah, he had a pretty bad year last year, but we've seen some flashes of brilliance. Last year, 152 for 251. That's 60.6%, 1,883 yards, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Gotta clean those interceptions. But he is quietly a dual threat quarterback. 99 carries for 335 yards, 3.4 yards a carry, and 3 touchdowns. I think Penn State has a bounce back year. I think Sean Clifford has a bounce back year. And I think he will climb in the Heisman rankings throughout the year. He's listed at plus 10,000. That's 100-1. So the payoff on him would be tremendous. The last guy on long shots would be Brock Purdy. This guy has been steadily trending in the right direction, and he has Iowa State contending for the Big 12 championship. So if Iowa State were to somehow capture the Big 12 championship away from Oklahoma, his Heisman stock would go through the roof. Last year, 243 for 365, 66.6%, 2,750 yards, 19 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Dual threat quarterback as well. 87 carries for 382 yards, 4.4 yards a carry, and 5 touchdowns. His odds are plus 6,600. That's 66 to 1. So a decent payout for him as well. So there you go. My take on the Vegas odds on the Heisman Trophy winner of 2021. Oh, and by the way, I've been looking over this thing for the past 30 minutes. I can't find a single daggum Pitt player on here. So I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they made a mistake. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on my next show.